We're now at turn 10, the 15th of June, and the Germans are behaving far more aggressively now. Up in the north, they're again putting pressure on the northern end of Utah Beach, manoeuvring to really threaten the American perimeter. Around in the area between St. Lo and Bayeux, they are, as I kind of thought they would, behaving aggressively, looking to harass the isolated Americans. You can see them just to the northeast of St. Lo, but also threaten them all along the line in this area. There are quite a few reduced American units here, and the Germans are looking to strike wherever they can, and combat was quite advantageous for the Germans, as I'll show you in just a moment. Out in the east, the Tigers again looking to get into action just south of Tilly-sur-Seulles, whilst around Caen, the Germans really just defending around here, trying to form some good defensive stacks and let the British waste their resources in attacks on the city. So if we look first at the attacks around Utah, you can see the Germans have recaptured Montabaur in the north, pushing the Americans back from their positions. In the southeast, around Saint-Clair-sur-l'Eau and Saint-Jean-de-Day, the Germans had a success across the L River. They forced a surprising DR result. I think the odds for here were only 2-1, if that, and they forced the Americans back. Those Americans should be marked with a disrupted counter up in the northeast, but they're not. So now the Germans pushing across that river and forming a bit of a bridgehead across the L, which can really threaten all the American positions in this area. Looking at the bigger picture, you can see further to the east, the Germans have also recaptured Balleroy and are really threatening, I think, Bayeux here. You can see reduced American and British units in this area. There is some bocage territory, but I think with the strong German tanks and I guess strong units in this area in general, they can really drive in force to Bayeux. So they did that on the left around Balleroy, recapturing Balleroy. They forced the British back near Tilly-sur-Seulles on the right. Again, Tigers getting involved. And this whole area here, south of Bayeux, is really turning towards the Germans. Now, on the Allied turn, around Utah, the Americans counterattacked north of Montabaur and forced a DR result, which pushed the Germans back out of the area. Montabaur is now surrounded in the east. It looks like the Americans might capture that in the next turn or so, recapture that, I should say. But they're also pushing the Americans back out of the area. They're pushing the Germans out of the area. They did launch an attack around just to the north of Carentan, which was an exchange result. And further south, just northeast of St. Lo, they are trying to really pull back away from that area. They found themselves a bit exposed, and they're trying to get back to the Ella River. Not many attacks in this area for the Americans. They just don't have the strength to do so. Around Caen, it's really the British in a bit of damage control to the west of the city, trying to reorder their line and protect Bayeux. At the same time, they launched a pretty strong attack on the city again, and this time they forced another, I think it was an A1, D1 result, which forced another determined defense by the Germans, which once again was successful. However, you can see that that flak counter, the 345 on the northern side of Caen, which is the sole remaining defender of that hex. So the Germans are going to respond to defend the city if they want to hold that, which I think they certainly do. So there'll be some reshifting of forces in this area. Looking at this, the British have wasted a lot of their units just in holding this line. I mean, they're holding a front line for Ouistreham all the way down through along the northern outskirts of Caen. Maybe they should have held this a little weaker and shifted some of those forces out to the west. uh, because, as I said, the Germans are pushing towards Bayeux and there aren't many British forces in that area. So, of course, I should have mentioned this is a storm turn. So this all helped the Germans to shift their forces, gain supplies, and there are, of course, no Allied forces coming in at the beaches. That's the end of turn 10.